All right. So tonight we're going to be going over some fly fishing knots. I've got different nice colored thicker string to use to kind of demonstrate. It has its advantages and disadvantages. You could see it, but sometimes they don't want to cinch up right. I've been sitting for hours trying to get some of these to work. Some of the knots have been working out well for me and some haven't. So I'll try to take it slow. And since we're being recorded, I got to make sure I don't cuss because there's two of the knots that just I still struggle with, and then others I do well with. So we'll go through it. We got Carl coming on real quick. So we'll take our time with it, and then we could kind of discuss different, maybe widgets or tying tools that you may have, things that help out. Even some of the knots that I'm tying, you guys might have an easier way to do it where I'm like, oh, okay. So this is the point where I didn't wish I had three hands to do some of these. So, but if you saw the email, what we're going to do is there was a little diagram of it said fly fishing knots, where it starts at the reel and you go to the fly. So we are going to go through those. Again, some of these are easy. Some of these I might have to stop and rethink about some of this, but we'll have fun with it. So I'm going to change the view over. Let me see. I want to pin this spotlight for everyone. So now you see me and USB video. A little dark, but hopefully that'll bring up. So, all right, the first one, I'm going to try the arbor knot. And this is what you would tie from your backing to your reel. Since the reel would be kind of hard, I am going to say that this would be the round part of, back that out a little bit, that's a little bit too close, that you would be using as your reel, but the sides of the reel would block, so I'm using this PVC. So I'm going to use this thicker line that is way thicker than what we would use for backing, but at least you could kind of see it a little bit better. So again,
well, if you use that size line, you wouldn't have to use much backing.
Exactly. And it's one of those things. I'm going to go through all these lines and I'll tell you, no fish has ever brought me to the backing, and even I had a good weekend. Thanks, John. I still owe John either a 6-pack or a bottle for taking me to a good place to go fish. And we'll talk about that more later. But so I'm going to pretend this is the backing, and then this is the spool of the reel so that it's not being blocked so you can see it. This one is one of the easy knots to do. Again, some of these knots, they are a pain, but luckily you only have to do it every once in a while, tying these up. And even, for me and probably others, it's always good to review YouTube before you try some of these, because you do forget and you're like, how do you do that again? YouTube's your friend. And that's what I did to kind of refresh on this. So the first one's called an arbor knot. And again, we'll pretend that this is a backing, and the first thing you're going to do with this is just a very quick overhand knot. And all you're trying to do is get that knot, because that's going to be your stop. And then you would go around your reel. And now you're going to do, hopefully you could see, just an overhand knot again. Sorry if I'm losing you on this. My big old fingers don't want to work good at times. So now if you could see, I just have, I'll put around my fake reel again. Come on. So now you can see I have the original knot up right here, and then where I have a simple overhand knot with this would go to the rest of my backing. And all you want to do is now pull on it. And by kind of rocking it back and forth, it will actually cinch in because it's trying to go through, but that first knot you put on is going to keep it in. As you see, that's pretty tight. It doesn't want to spin, and you could really crank on this and it's not going anywhere. So that's your arbor knot. Again, that's a very simple one. You're doing a quick granny knot and then a granny knot to include your backing and pull tight, and it cinches in. If you're using a spinning rod, a lot of this you could kind of just use your cinch knot or clinch knot, because with the monofilament, it would kind of cinch easy and you could do that and tighten it up. But with backing, it's a little bit more difficult. So we do the arbor knot. As you see, it really isn't that bad.
Hey, Mick,
Sir.
I restring probably 30, 40 rods a year, all of them spin cast reels.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same knot we use when we're working with all those kids' reels. It's you're right. It's quick, it's easy, it takes about 5 seconds to get it done, and practice it about 6 times and you'll have it down pat.
Yep. And I'm actually going to do it again because some of these knots are going to take no time at all. Again, I kept the first knot in there that you could see there. Again, all I'm doing is a quick overhand knot with that to include, so you could see, oops, sorry, you can't see, through the line. And then now all you do is you pull it, it cinches, you just kind of crank on it, and there it is. This is probably the easiest one that we're going to do. Some of them that we tied to the fly that are going to be easy, and that's why I'm kind of dreading the next two that we'll go through, but we will get through these. So
You might want to back out a little bit more on the camera. We can still see well enough, but sometimes it'll make it easier for you to keep everything in view.
better.
Yeah, that's good because we can still see that line, at least for me.
Okay. Hopefully that, okay. That works. We'll go with that. Okay, the next one. So as I said, you now have put your backing on, but now you got to do the backing to the fly line. So that's going to be the next one, an Albright knot. This is one of those that, man, I wish I had a third hand to do that, but we will try that. Again, we'll call this pink as your, try to think of how this goes one more time. Ooh. Okay. And then this, we'll call, how do I want this? This will be fly line, the pink. And this is cool thing is this is actual backing. So what you want to do with this is give yourself some fly line and you're going to make a quick loop. You're going to take your backing through the loop, give yourself 6 inches or so. And then I'm going to pinch that off right here. Now I'm going to try to bear with me with this. This is where a third hand would work fine. I'm going to try to get 4 loops through this. There we go, a little bit better. While I'm watching this, if I fall off camera, just tell me to stop and I'll get back in line. Again, I apologize. This is where I wish I had 3 hands, and one good thing is you don't, with putting line to your backing of line, you don't do it that often. Okay, so I got 4 going one way. Oops. Now I want to crisscross 4 going back. Again, this is why I'm kind of happy I only have to do this once in a great while. Get the tag. Come on. Now, if you could see, I got the backing coming up through the loop from the bottom, and I want it to come the same way. So I'm going to come up through the bottom. Now I got the tag. I'm going to try to get this to pull. We might have to kind of work it a little bit. This is the tough part with using bigger line than I normally would. Give it a nice little tight. Hopefully you could see that. So I got a nice tight, I worked it. And these are a constriction knot. So the more loops you have, wraps, and the tighter you go, the tighter that knot gets.
Very good.
So now the cool thing with this is, like I said, the harder you pull, the tighter it gets. I'm going to trim off the tag ends real close, because then again, if you do get a fish that will take you through the backing, again, this would fray a little bit right now, but you could kind of see it's a nice tapered line. So this is backing line. If it had to go through your reel or your rod guides, it would go pretty quick. So again, as hard as I'm trying, that's not coming apart. So there's 2 lines that were separate now, a nice even knot. If I went a little bit tighter on the trimming, it would look even better. So again, that's the Albright knot. It is a little tricky. So this one kind of worked out not too bad. The first couple times I was really pulling my hair out, but take your time with these. Eventually you'll get them. The good news is you don't have to use them that often.
Nick, have you ever tried a double perfection loop or not in that situation?
I was going to do a perfection loop to show you later how I do my own leaders, but I don't know if there's a perfection knot. I think
Yeah, there is.
So
And I use that in lieu of a blood knot quite frequently, but and I don't have a camera set up tonight, but I'll send you a quick video and show you how it works.
okay, and I will be doing a blood knot, and I even know Carl had a cool way he showed us, so I'm going to do it the way that they teach you, and then a different way that I've learned it to make it a little bit simpler as well. So we'll get there.
So Nick, I've always used a nail knot there.
Yep, and that's what I'm going to go next, which
Okay.
I am not good with nail knots, so hang on with me on that one. So taking a quick sip of Gatorade before I get to that one.
That's when your nail knot tool comes in handy.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
One of the nail knot tools and tying tools I usually keep. This is a needle knot, and it does have, if you take this little plastic off, you can kind of see the groove a little bit. And so you can kind of use that in there. With some of the line I'm using tonight to demonstrate, it won't fit in there, but regular monofilament or fluorocarbon fits in that groove. That makes it real easy. And then when I'm tying knots on the water, if my hands are getting cold, I'll take some of this amnesia cord. And with this little tool gadget I have, I got this little plunger where I could put that in there, and then instead of trying to thread the tag in, I got this nice red end where I could kind of easily direct it through. And it holds on, and it helps with tying knots. So you might have a tool, like I said, to do nail knots. Could actually use a nail for the nail knot, or the way I'm going to show it this time is with our bodkin. So this is a tool that we all use for tying, and this is what I'm gonna use on this. Let's see if I can get this working. This one was another tough one I had, so I'm gonna get my first wrap about even with the tip of the bodkin, and I'm gonna have, let's see if I can remember. Yep, I will have then my leader line past this. This would be my leader line. I'll make a loop out of it, so you'll see a big loop down there. And now I've got basically the bodkin, the fly line, and 2 of the leaders. So now I'm gonna, this is where I always having some tough times. Taking the loop end, and I'm gonna make loops around, hopefully you could see that, around the bodkin and the 2 lines. Once I get enough of that, I will take this tag end here up front and pull this through until that loop is gone. It's trying to curl on me, so it's taking a little bit longer. And now that it's all the way through, this is what I'm looking at on the bodkin. So it's kind of tight. I don't want to, what I will do now is slide both of these off the bodkin, and you could put that to the side. Now with this, you can kind of see the loop, and I'm just going to pull the 2 greens and try to lock that in. Use my nails, both ends, to get that in. So again, this is a constriction knot. Tighter you pull, the harder that knot sets itself. So God, who was telling us or saying that they were using nail knots instead of the Albright, very similar. And as you can see, they almost look identical. I'll bring the previous Albright knot out. Again, you can get real close on the tag ends. So there you can see that's going to go through guides real easy. And so again, as hard as you pull, that's not going anywhere. So 2 ends together, nice, clean, and smooth. Go through the guides. With this end being this your leader to fly line, this will get wet in the water. So if there's any moss or anything, hopefully that will prevent a lot of it hanging up there. But nice and smooth, it won't get tangled up in your line. So that is the nail knot. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I'm just looking for knots that's neuropathy proof.
Yeah, trust me, it's,
Yeah.
this is one of those that you do it once in a while. I kind of do like using these for fly line to the leader. You can do a lot of the fly lines now have like a looped end that will look like this. And you would have, I use a amnesia line. I'll show you what this is, where, you know, if this was the fly line, your leader, you could then, trying to think of, I'm losing this. Where you would loop it. Just get past that knot. There we go. It's kind of like that. So you would have two loops together. That makes it easy to change your leader on the water for sure. But then you have this big knot, you have another knot here. So at times, let's see if I could get out of that. If you could spend the time and work on your nail knot, that works really well. And I'll show you another couple tricks that you could keep your leader for a long time, a season or two. Because the next one is what we go to leader to tip it. And you could use a blood knot, and I'll show you that. It's a neat knot, but I think everyone kind of knows I love tippet rings. And so instead of using a blood knot at the end of my leader, I would tie a tippet ring, but I will go over the blood knot with you. And again, I am starting to like this a little bit more than the loops, because I'll put this on one time on my leader and I could get a whole season on my leader using tippet rings instead of blood knots, but I will show you how those work. So
Mick, what I do is I also coat that with some epoxy too, just to give it a little more strength. And I have had occasion after about 10 or 15 trips out with the same leader where it'll get frayed. So what I'll do then is just clip it off and leave about 3 feet,
yeah,
the butt section, and then just do a blood knot on it with a piece of tapered leader.
yep, and that works. Either way, it seems like a lot of the fly lines you're getting now are actually coming with welded loop ends, so that kind of helps you with the leader to fly line and your backing as well. So it's your choice on how you want to do it. These are all just suggestions. But the next one would be if you have your leader and you're running out of your tippet area and you have to add more tippet. So one of them the next is called the blood knot. I do get a kick out of this one. If I could get my fingers to work, I will just do, so this would be fluorocarbon to fluorocarbon, so about the same size.
Could you pull your hands up a little?
Yep, sorry.
That's
Thank
too
you for,
far.
if it
Okay,
drops,
there.
please let me know. So let me think of, I will, I got both of them together like this. And I will form, I think that, yeah, a loop here. And I'm going to start wrapping. You want to get about 5.
You make it look so easy. Let me think now. You're sitting in a bench. It's about 70 degrees in your house. You're using that. And that. Now, what I want you to do is think about how you're going to do that when it's 32 degrees. You're in the middle of a stream up to your knees in water, and you're using 6X tippet.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I like tippet rings. But I do want to show the blood knot because when you use this size material, it actually looks kind of cool. But when you said it's cold out trying to do this, you're like, no, I like tippet rings. So I got 5 or so wraps in there. So here's my tag end, and I'm going to make sure I put it between itself and the other, we'll call it the pink. And I'm just going to pinch it here to hold it in. So now I'm going to go the opposite direction. I think I'm going to go this way then. Yeah, that's fine. Nope. Almost messed up. Need my loop first. When I get enough, you kind of see that I got the yellow going top down. I want to go the opposite with the other tag end. So it's going up. This is unraveling on me. So I want
Drop your hands down a little, Mick. There you go.
Yeah, I want to do the pink over anyway because it was looking pretty ugly. So I don't know what happened there.
I have never been successful with this knot with 6X,
Yeah.
even in a controlled environment.
Yeah, I tell you what, me either. That's why I went with the double uni knot. It's just so much easier to tie.
Double uni. Yeah, I wish I would have started with that one.
It's called a blood knot.
This is a blood knot. But
Yeah,
there's
it's
an
really
easier
strong.
way of doing it.
And the reason it's called the blood knot is because you'll sweat blood and tears tying it.
Yeah, your blood pressure goes up. There's a much easier way of doing this, and I will get to that. I am sorry.
Yeah, it's called a tippet ring.
Tippet ring, yeah. But there's actually an easier way to do the blood knot. So I'm gonna go. It was funny, I was having such a fun time with this when I was practicing, but this time around it's giving me the hard time when the other two, the nail knot, the Albright. Okay.
I don't think there's another knot as closely linked to fly fishing as the blood knot.
Yeah. So we're getting there. I just gotta pull on both ends, and the pink side looks
Nice.
good.
Nice job.
Okay, so there you would trim those off. I'm going to show you an easier way to do this. So now you got your two ends that you want to tie together. Put them together. Make a quick loop. And one quick overhand. So you can see it just a quick overhand if you want to get rid of some of these tags, because you'll cut the whole thing off later, but makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to do another loop like this. Now you could cut, oop, let me see, there you go, you can see now. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to start wrapping these loops. All I'm doing is right now yellow over pink 5 times. So you could see the spirals on each side. Those 2 tags that I had, I'm going to put it through the 2. Just try to straighten that out a little bit.
Do you usually bite that end about this time?
What's that? By this time, the
Usually
horn's
about-
already gone off and I've missed all the fish. So now I'm pulling the ends together again. And see, that actually looks really nice there.
That's a nice job. I like that.
Yeah, that's the way I tie it, Mick.
You're my hero.
So with that, you could then cut those off. That's the tag part that I put the tied together off, and there they are. So you can kind of see.
Nice.
So like you said, the double cinch knot works where you do a cinch on either or. I haven't practiced that one in a while, so I can't think of how to do that off the top of my head. But again, this is if you were going to do, you got your leader and you ran out of tippet and you want to add more tippet. Where I was saying I've got tippet rings. So I think most of you that I've helped out have seen them. Man, it's kind of hard to see.
Back up a little bit.
Yeah, it's just a little steel, and it's moving too. It's a little steel ring. So a little bit bigger than the size of an eye hook where you could tie your normal if you want to do a clinch knot, or I like there's the Davy that I know Walt likes, and I like the double Davy. I'll go over both of those. So right here is my leader. And what I do right away is cut where the tippet area is, and I'll put in the tippet ring, and then I will just add tippet to that. That way I don't have to do a blood knot out there. This is a tapered leader that I use for fly fishing, so it is tapered to this. If I'm using dry flies, absolutely you need a tapered leader. For the fly to go out, extend out, and lay correctly, you really do need a tapered leader. Can you get away without it? Yes, it does work, but it looks a whole lot better if you use a tapered leader.
Mick, have you ever had any problems with your tippet rings cutting your tippet material?
No, I've lost my tippet and fly because of maybe a weak knot, but I've never had, where it, cut. And who knows? I'm thinking about it now. Maybe could have it cut the line, not just a weak knot. It could have been. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I had one and that I was using in my Tenkara rod, and I couldn't figure out why I kept losing fish. And then I tied a tippet on it, and I gave it a good tug, and it just split that knot right down the middle.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah. So sometimes, if you're going to use a tippet ring, I highly recommend you test it before you catch that or lose that 21-inch rainbow.
Yep. So
I use a
Hey,
tip
Mick,
too, and haven't had
I'm
that
sorry.
problem.
Can you show that blood knot that trick way one more time?
yeah,
I think I got it, but I just want to see that loop one more time.
let me just cut another couple piece.
I've not seen that trick, but that was pretty sweet.
It makes it a lot easier by far. You saw how I struggled on the first one. All right. So you'll take your two ends.
Yep.
The easy part, tie them into a knot. And to make it a little bit easier, like I said, I just kind of cut those tag ends off. So it's just a little bit easier to use. And this is why we don't do blood knots. As you can see, that looks real ugly like that. But now I'm just going to, here it is here, but I'm going to just have
Just
it
a
like
loop.
a loop like that. And so I'm
Okay.
going to get my hands in like this. Now I'm just going to take the yellow
Okay.
and red. I'm just doing a spiral, around, but keeping that loop in the center. Once I get about 5, which I'll call that, I still have that loop. I will put that tag end right there through the center, and I'll start kind of pulling it, just kind of making it nice and easy and making sure everything wants to sit right, and then give it a nice little pull. And there it is.
That's beautiful.
And as you see, you saw me struggle on the first way of doing it, but I really like that. You could then cut the tag ends short. That will go through your guides. Again, this looks kind of big, but it's for demonstration, so you can kind of see it. But yeah, that's locked in. That's not going anywhere. And like John said, if you wanted, you could even put a little epoxy there, or if you have your Sally Hansen's, give it a little dab, that will lock it in as well.
Love it. Thank you.
You got it. Let me see where I had another. I don't know where it went. But I had another.
Mick, you say you only been fly fishing 4 months, huh?
4 months, that's it. All right, so I don't know where I had another one of my leaders. Dropped it off, but basically I'm going to show you how to build one of my leaders. I just don't. Ooh, I know what I could use. Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay. From start to finish, at times, this is all I will use for a leader. When I'm using heavier flies, like if I'm going to use an indicator and a nymph underneath, or streamers, I might only use this much of a leader. And basically, this is called amnesia line that I like. This is 15 pound. And I have it in 20 as well, but I like the 15. And I make my leaders out of this. And when I know I'm not going to be doing dry flies, from what I got from Jim Rogers, who teaches the fly class at Bennett, who's got his master's in casting and teaching, he said, again, if you're going to use a dry fly, you need a tapered leader. But if you're going to use anything with weight, you could pretty much go with this. And this is what a lot of fly fishermen at Taneycomo use. Maybe a little bit bigger than this. I should have gone maybe 2 feet on this. This is maybe a foot, but this still works. Where I put in a perfection loop, this goes around the welded end of my fly line. And then at the end, as I showed you, you could have a tippet ring, as I showed earlier, or these work too, but they're kind of hard to find. That's actually a swivel, but it's very small. As you can see, here's the packet where I've got 25 of them, and they're actually small swivels. Wish you could see that a little bit, but they're swivels and they work as well. But I prefer the tippet rings because even though these are rated for, some of these are 10 pounds, and I only use 7X tippet, which is basically 2 pounds. This should last longer than the tippet, but it is kind of mechanical, so it's prone to fail. But you can use these as well. Go ahead.
How do you use an improved clinch knot to connect them to your leader?
I use the double Davy, and that's what I will show next. And I'll also show the clinch knot and an improved clinch knot. To do that, I'm using my vise here. And hopefully now I could zoom in a little bit on this because we're just looking at this. Using a safety pin because it's a good demo on for like a eyelet on a hook. And I know Walt and I have discussed this several times where he uses a Davy, and I don't have my 2 pound tippet to kind of show you why I use a double Davy, but I'll show you them both. And these are my favorite because it's a quick tie. When you tie it to a fly, it's a very small knot, and you use very little of your tippet. So you can change out flies more before you actually end up having to add more to your tippet. So I will put it through what we'd say the eye of the hook. And I'm going to move this over so you can see that more, hopefully. And what I'm going to do is go under the lower through the loop, go over the upper through the loop. This would be the Davy knot. And if you hold the tag end right here close to the eyelet, it will cinch close to your hook. Oh, I let too much go. So again, over one through the loop, through the second and loop. There's your Davy. You just have a little bit of a tag end. You could probably go, I tried to go a little bit short to show you, but I went long so I wouldn't lose the knot again. And it's not going anywhere. You're using 5X and thicker, you might get away with the Davy knot. I know Walt's had good luck with it. When I go down to a 7X tippet, it slips on me and I lose it. So I'm going to show you the double Davy, which is instead of going through the loop twice, you're just going to go 3 times. So you go through. And this is what I pretty much always use on my hooks. Go through the bottom, over the top, through there. Now, if I cinch that up, that's the Davy knot. But I'm just going to go through the bottom again a second time and then cinch that in. And there's my double Davy.
That would be used on Klaus minnows or something large.
Say that again.
You would use that on large flies, streamers, Klaus minnows.
I use that on even dry flies and my midges that are size 18. I use that. It's the difference between the double Davy and the Davy for me is tippet size. If I'm at a very small tippet size, like a 7X, every time I try to just do a double Davy and I try to tighten it up, it just pulls right through. You know, it'll kink up the line, but it won't ever cinch in. So I do a double Davy, which is instead of 2 times through the center and over each, the lower and above, it's you go through the upper, through the loop, under the lower, through the loop, through the upper again, and then cinch. These are very, it might look big right now on the screen, but when you tie that to your fly, that is a very tiny knot and it holds very well. And that's what I use. 99% of the time I use the double Davy. Because again, I don't.
Clinch knot.
What's that? The clinch?
The clinch is like a giant compared to this.
Yeah. So if you can kind of remember that. Cut that off.
Hey, Mick, do you use your fly tying tool for that as well, or?
The clip.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I could show you how I do that. Oop. Lost my string. Sorry about that. So I will even use this. So now it's in there, and I could, for the clinch, I will put my finger in here and I can get this to work how I want it. It could be, could kind of throw it around a couple times. And the simple clinch is then just drop it through that hole and cinch it in. And that would be your clinch knot, just the, but I will show you the improved, but still kind of, as you see, it's still a small knot. It's very good. A little bit bigger than the Davy knot. So let me get rid of this. And I will do the improved.
Nick, could you zoom out just a little bit?
You got it.
What is that tool called again?
The knot needle.
Oh,
You could find them on the web. He's pretty cool, and he's actually got YouTube videos on how to do all his knots that he's done with it. But as you see, it makes it a whole lot easier. We're not fumbling around
yeah.
with that. So improved. So I will go through it the first time, but I will keep my finger here. I should have given myself more room with this, but you see if I could do that over, but give myself more room. So, okay. I will now go through it once. But that loop that I have created, I will go through that. And now cinch that up. And that's the improved cinch knot. And so that locks in. I guess there was a possibility of the regular clinch knot coming loose, but by going through the second loop you created will lock it in as well. So again, it would be flip off and there you go.
Yeah, Mick, my experience with it is that anything smaller than a 5X tippet will pull out with the clinch. So I just don't even tie a clinch anymore. Everything I do is improve clinch. It only takes a few extra seconds. So
Exactly. And the difference between the improved and the clinch is one extra loop, and that's the same with the Davy and a double Davy. One extra loop you're going and it saves you.
Yeah. I even use it on my Tenkara. How about that?
Yeah, it works. So I will try one more thing, and that was the perfection loop. This might be a little bit harder to do with this because I've tried to do it with this thicker cord that I have, and it just doesn't want to work the best. So I'm going to try to do it with my amnesia line and show you how I build up my leaders. So I just give myself about 3 foot. And they say call it amnesia because you will see it curl, but if you pull it 3 hands once, it straightens out pretty quick. It has no memory. Hopefully you guys could see this. So I got a loop, and what I'm, let me see, hold on, here's okay. So what I'm doing, just double checking, trying to remember how I do this. Got the first loop where I have, I'm trying to think if it goes through the back. Yes. So the part that I'm holding, you could see is towards the front. I'll make a big loop. And is that the way? No, again, I'm going to flip it over. So again, okay. Left hand has the forward loop.
I don't think it makes any difference, Mick.
Oh, I think you kind of, and then what I'll do is I'll create another loop about medium, and I want to go around that bottom of the stem or the tag end. And what I want to do is I got my big loop and then my medium loop. I'm going to go in between them with the smaller loop. And go around. Now what I'm going to do is with my finger, I'm going to go through the big loop and grab the medium loop and pull up. I think I jacked that up already. Yeah, I did. Sorry about that. This one kind of gets me messed up at times. A lot of these, I will absolutely say you will have to go to Facebook or YouTube and try to figure these out because you just don't do them as often as you want. So there it is. So before you really cinch down on that loop, you could kind of adjust it to what size. And for me, I want a little bit of a loop. And then I could pull that tag end and that locks it in. And so there's my perfection loop where I could pull on that, but that loop will not close.
What's the name of that knot?
Perfection loop. And so now you can make your own leaders out of that where you would have, oops, sorry, too high. You would go to your, if you had a welded loop end at your fly line, you would loop in there, and then, as I said, you would put in a tippet ring here. You know, this would actually be a really good size to about 2 feet. And again, you could get away with these shorter leaders if you're going to have a weighted fly. So that could be a nymph under an indicator, because you're going to have weight with the indicator and your nymph. And so with having the weight at the end of your line, when you try to cast out, it will flow out with it. If you're doing a streamer, usually those have weighted eyes and everything. So again, you could, all I do is I make, you know, where I say this would be my leader, tippet ring at the end, and then I would just add tippet to it, maybe 4 to 5 feet. If I do 5 feet and a 2 foot leader, it's 7 foot, easily manageable leader size. So, and
And Mick, I tell you, you know, I don't even use a tapered leader when I'm doing something like that. I usually get a little, just 2 pound mono.
Yep.
And go tip it ring right to the fly on a 2 pound mono, and that usually works pretty well.
That's basically what I do. I guess if you want to call me the frugal fly fisherman, I use amnesia line, as I showed you, 15 pound. I make 2 foot leader section out of that with a perfection loop and a tippet. And my favorite, which I don't have down right now, is Berkeley Vanish. It's a fly line, it's a fluorocarbon, and it's 2 pound test. And I tie to that. I could get 200 yards of that for $14 on Amazon. So you get a lot of it. And as much as I try to help others tie on real quick, that at least kind of goes a long way. So that's all I have for the different knots. These are just some of them. You know, they're what we were even saying, instead of the blood knot, there's a double cinch where you do a cinch on each end, and when you pull them, they fight each other and they lock in. That's another good one that works well. But this was just a quick demo of some of the knots that we have. So,
Mick, I
yeah.
put in the chat box to everybody a website, and I thought I'd hold it up here and guys get a quick glimpse at it as to what that website will show you. So it shows up,
Let me,
and it will step through a knot. And you can
that's a really good,
step it, and so you can manage, pause it, and you can go right through that knot as slow as you need to see how it's tied. And it has basically all the knots you described plus more. So
What's the name of that site?
I put it in the chat. It's animated knots, one big word, animatedknots.com.
that's a really good site. That's actually kind of neat. I have like an app on my phone that just kind of does something like, but not animated like that. That is a really cool site.
So yeah, I've used it. I keep it on the phone, and
That's very cool.
I need
Yeah.
to tie one I haven't done forever. It's a good quick refresher, and as long as you have connectivity, I don't know that any way that it stores on the phone itself if you're out someplace where you don't have any reception.
Yeah, do you have a waterproof phone or?
Yeah, I
Up to a
did.
couple feet. So real quick, because I know we only got a couple minutes left. Again, winter trout fishing is going on. Anytime anyone wants to go out somewhere, shout out to everyone. If you want company, we all enjoy it. That Lake 7 at Bush Wildlife. I'm just kind of going over the email I sent out. We caught catfish and a big shiner. The crappie were huge. bluegill were there, and especially the trout. So we were catching a little bit of everything out there. So I think the next real thing we have booked is we're meeting at Daniel Boone Branch Library again, December 11th. We've got it from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And so that'll give us 2 hours to take our time a little bit more. We were kind of rushed for an hour last time. Who knows? Maybe this Saturday, Sunday, if somebody wants to get out, we could do a couple hours at Bush, or, there's in my email, I list all the different lakes that are out there. Susan Park, that's where we did our casting clinic. They've got trout there. Union, we got Scott and Walt close to your home out there. In January, Wabash, that's where Lee and I took off in Ferguson. We caught a lot of brush on the side of the lake, but we still had a good time. It was real windy. So again, we got those options. So things to do. Again, catch and release started at the trout parks. If you go to Montauk, Bennett, or Roaring River, you could fish Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But if you could sneak out during the week, Merrimack is open for all 7 days. So a lot of people forget that. And if you go there, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday would be a good time to go. It's a lot of people probably forget they're at work, so you probably have that stream to yourself. So
Hey, Mick,
yes.
to answer Lee's question, he's talking about tying with his fingers that are not working as well. You can tie your the flies on to a piece of tippet at home and put them on a card. I've got one. Somebody showed this to me, but I forget the name of it. It's yellow, and it has some springs on it that you wrap the tippet around once or twice, and have a loop on it. So
Yes.
if you
Yeah.
so
Hookkeeper.
the end of your line is then loop to loop.
Yep.
Bookkeepers.
Hookkeepers.
Yeah.
Hookkeepers, yeah.
Yeah.
I got them on Amazon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazon's a good spot.
Okay, that was the thing I was struggling with Mick when we're out there at the springs this past
Yeah.
time. I couldn't feel anything.
But maybe we'll even look at, these tools, try to get some of these tools. I could try to give the company a call, see if we could, because these kind of do help, because then you've got this device here that
I just ordered one.
okay, cool. Yeah, it's
24 bucks on Amazon.
yeah, and I think I've had a couple of these. And the last time I was at Montauk, I gave one to someone. It was part of our group. I can't remember who, but good little tools. Again, I think that's all we have, and we're a little bit past 7. For those of you who couldn't make it, we saw John and Lee, Roger, and I got to go to Bennett last week. So it was good to see them. We had a good time fishing. Friday was a good time fishing because it seemed like with Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it gave them downtime without any pressure. And we caught a bunch on Friday, and that was way more than what I would do during a normal season. But we had good fishing 4 days. It was cold, but fishing was good. We had a good time.
Mick, if I could throw in a unabashed commercial.
Go for it.
This Thursday, on Fly Tying Thursday for Omaha Healing Waters, we'll be tying my favorite fly, the Royal Coachman.
Cool.
And Mike's going to tie the dry fly version, and I think he's also maybe going to tie a streamer version as well as the leadwing Coachman. So this is the first in 2 that we're doing this month on Christmas flies. So
great. So I know I sent out your email before to everyone. I will try to send it out as a reminder. I will get that out with mine. I'll add some of your links to mine, and so they could see it, because I
Great.
enjoyed it. And last time you were doing it, I was driving to Bennett, so I couldn't get out.
That's okay. As long as you were going to Bennett, that's an acceptable excuse.
Yes, it was. So, yeah. So, all right.
Hey, this is, Christmas flies. I don't know if you'd see this. Did you see it?
No,
The
You're
other-
off
other-
camera.
Other direction. There
Yeah.
you go.
oops, almost too far.
There you
Okay.
go. Right there.
I've been putting flies and putting them in ornaments.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
So if we get together,
Flowers.
I've got about 90 of these little bulbs.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Very sweet.
Cool.
You the man.
Yeah, maybe we'll-
That's what we're doing this month with our veterans, Walt. We're doing exactly the same thing, except we're tying the Christmas woolly bugger.
Well, I've been, the Copper John works really good,
Yeah,
especially if you have one green,
Yep.
green or red wire instead of the copper.
yeah.
It looks pretty nice. I don't know if it'd catch any fish, but it looks nice.
Hey, Dave. Dave,
Yeah,
were you the guy that showed that yellow
Yeah.
hook card? What's the
Yeah.
name of it? I can't remember the name of it.
I'll find it.
Send it to Mick so he can send it to Lee.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll add
Got-
everything to my big email. So we'll have John's information for his Thursday tying, and I'll put some stuff on the knot needle, and I'll add more to it.
Okay.
And that's all I got.
Well, that's a lot. Thanks, Mick.
It was a lot. Yep.
That was great.
Good.
Super. In fact, you gave me an idea for what I'm going to do next Thursday. Thank you.
Yeah, it was funny that I had problems with tying the Albright and knot needle in practice, and those went kind of fine. But then I was doing good with blood knots before, and I struggled it on it this time. So they're not easy, but luckily you don't have to do that many of them. And
Yeah.
now with tippet rings and everything, that makes it a whole lot easier. So,
Just practice them before you get out on the stream side.
yep. And
Yeah.
hopefully some of the tricks we showed you might not conform to traditional standards, but they make it a little bit easier. So,
Mhm.
Hey, Mick, you do have me intrigued just a little bit, if you don't mind going a little bit longer with your short leader setup and longer tippet.
yeah.
What's the advantage you get from there?
Basically with that one cost, sometimes you buy these tapered leaders, they're can get pricey, especially if they have names like Orvis attached to them.
Yeah, I
So,
stay away from those, but
Yeah. So with these, the leader setup that I used with the Amnesia line, looking at the wrong camera now. I bought this off Amazon. This one is showing, this is the 15 pounds. So this is what I usually end up using. It's a bright red monofilament. And guys from Lake Taneycomo showed me this because a lot of them were using streamers. And Jim Rogers from Bennett, and he does teaching. He basically said, as long as you're not throwing dry flies, if it's got any weight to it, you could pretty much go straight monofilament. But I do like this, that it has makes it a slight taper. You're going from
Okay.
your fly line to 15 to whatever you're going to, which usually for me is 2 pound, but it at least has some kind of taper to it. And when I've tried to use 2 pound as a leader from the fly line to the actual fly itself, I've had that 2 pound fluorocarbon be so strong that it actually cut the welded loop on my fly line. So I had to redo that. So the Amnesia being a little bit thicker, it doesn't cut through the fly line as much. So, and that's why I go the Amnesia to the fly line. It's easier on the fly line itself. Then I put a tippet ring to that, and then I'll go to the 2-pound tippet to that.
Okay, because your floral can be almost as expensive as a tippet.
Yes. Fluorocarbon, what I use is what's called Berkeley Vanish. I get it off Amazon. It's 2-pound test, and it's like 200 yards for $14, which some tippets usually go 8, 9, $10, and you get like 50 yards if you buy it in a nice little tippet spool. So you get a little bit more bang for your buck by doing it that way.
Mick,
Yep.
it's called a Snell hook holder organizer,
Okay.
and
We can see it.
kill this. No,
Closer.
there
There.
we
There you
go.
go.
There. That's it. That's it.
They work really nice in cold weather.
You can tie maybe 40 bugs on there with tippet and everything, and makes it a lot easier to especially when you're putting the bugs in trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when we're meeting up at Daniel Boone Branch.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep. Thank you. The next
Oh, no
week will
problem.
be December 11th. We could tie flies, but if you want me to go over these knots again, this is a perfect time for that as well, you know, where we could go through. So
That'll be good.
yeah, we'll do some fly tying. Does anyone have, because we're coming up on the 11th in 2 weeks. If there's any kind of fly someone really wants, a shout out, and then I could start doing that. If there's anything you really want, I don't know if you want to do some of those foam beetles or something like that, we can.
Yeah, that sounds
What
good.
about me bringing some of these Christmas ornaments, and we can make a couple ornaments for our grandkids and stuff?
Yep, bring them on. So we'll be able to do a couple flies, but yeah, I think we'll do the foam beetles. I know Lee's kind of like those. He caught a bunch of trout and Bennett using those. And I think the first one we tried over the weekend, that fish destroyed that beetle. It bent the hook, tore up the foam, and that thing was mad at that beetle. So they work. We had a good time with beetles over the weekend. So this would be good to get some practice and get some.
Do we want to do we're not doing a Christmas party or anything, right?
Someone brought that up and I was like, yeah, that would be kind of fun. Maybe we could kind of meet up somewhere and try to do something.
Well, maybe
Oh, we lost it. Okay.
maybe after or before.
Yeah. I'm looking at the date. Oh, I don't have December up, but
How
maybe
many people
after the
does your living room
holidays.
hold, Terry? How many people does your living room hold, Terry?
Well, Dina and I, and then 2 dogs.
Yeah, we could find something, you know, and maybe do it after Christmas.
No, I mean, yeah,
before the
right
New Year.
before or after the
After the
meeting.
holidays,
Yeah.
because everybody's gonna be running around. Why don't we do it? We have a weenie roast at my house. I'll provide the weenie.
We could do ice fishing, Walt.
Yeah.
Ice fly
Boys,
fishing.
it never freezes. Isn't frozen 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
What kind of chemicals you have in there? This is a
Don't eat
nuclear
the
waste
fish.
dump.
No.
It's salt water.
Yeah. All
Awesome.
right.
It hasn't been cold enough.
Yeah. All right. We're
You have
both
this-
past
Nick.
7. What's that?
Hey, Mick, John,
Hey,
hey, you got a picture you want to share with the group
I could try it real quick.
of your catch on Friday?
Yep. Let me get that real quick and then.
And then just a reminder, Mick, if you want me to get that stuff to Charles to get his info.
Yes. Thank you.
Hey, Hey, Roger, would you send me that link, please?
Okay,
Thank you.
I think this was one, it's too bright. Let me see if I could, with settings and bright and get this down. Hopefully you could see that and get some of the glare off. But it finally happened after 15 years. I make any fish look small, but finally got my lunker at Bennett. I went
Congrats.
to go see John and probably would have never fished there, but I was like, hey, this is a neat spot to try out. And Roger and I were there and kind of was casting kind of long out there because I did see a couple big ones out there, but never thought one of them would hit. And I saw the indicator drop and I set the hook and I felt like maybe I kind of, it was the drift that the little white jig I had kind of grabbed the bottom and I actually snagged bottom. But I kind of looked out there and actually could see the indicator moving a little bit and I just couldn't figure it out. So I started stripping and just felt a lot of weight. So I actually kind of thought maybe I foul hooked a fish and kept on stripping it in. And then it went sideways, kind of close enough where I could see it. And I think all I could get out was Roger, big fish. That was it. And I just couldn't believe when I saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be it. This could be it. And I just started stripping it in and, he really didn't fight as you would think something like that would fight, and got him into the net, brought him up, started giggling. And, we took a couple quick photos and got him back in there. But
How big was he?
It kind of was the same size as what I saw a guy catch a lunker at Merrimack. So I kind of guessed around 4 on that one. And then believe it or not, Monday, when it was going to be our last day, it was 3:50. So 10 minutes before the horn, indicator drop, and I kind of felt the same thing. And I'm like, no way. Started stripping, and all of a sudden that one was a little bit smaller, but still probably about a 3-pounder. So that's a good area. Where I was fishing, you got to go back there. And it was a good advantage point because we're up on concrete and you could look down on the water. And the water was super clear and you could see all the silhouettes. And then that's a big silhouette out there. So we were hunting them. And
Where was that exactly?
Exactly right before the spillway. So if you could picture, it's the very end of zone 1 before the water goes over the spillway. The opposite of Ben Haven's office, but on the side of the nature center. So if you would walk across from the nature center and just keep on walking, there's a concrete pad that comes to like a point, and we were right off that point. And they were there. We saw several of them out there, and they put lunkers out there. I know Lee and I were then fishing in zone 2 right below the spillway, and we were just kind of fishing. It was like Lee, and there was another big one cruising by. I mean, where that one came out of, it was a big female that was way bigger than the ones that I caught before. So
I gotta
if you
go.
haven't been out on that
Right.
catch and release, it's worth going, because looking in the stream is like looking in the rearing ponds almost.
Yeah.
There were just so many fish out there. It's, it was just staggering.
yeah. Yeah, that Friday was one of the best fishing days I had. It was, since there was nothing really there, it seemed like I could drift. I could almost let a drift go for almost 30 feet, and drifting that long in an area where they're not getting pressured, that indicator was dropping a lot. So if you could get out there, it's a good time. It seems like it's getting warmer now, so it's a really good time to go if you could get out there. It was cold that weekend we were there, but the fishing made up for it. So
Yeah, I had to buy an extra heater for my RV. That was freezing out.
it was cold.
Oh, I did get my UV light. I was hoping that Ann would be on. So
Oh no, we're all blind.
Yeah, I think Mick and Roger burned their hands.
You could feel the heat off that one. He's like, here, try mine. I was like, I feel the heat. So
Wow.
it cured
Oh like no time.
UV and killed all the bacteria on my hand.
Mhm.
So.
I may have gone overboard.
A little bit. All right, I don't want to hold you guys up anymore. It's 7:20. Go get some food, go spend time with friends and family, and I'll have an email out shortly, probably tomorrow, with more info, and we will see you guys Zoom, unless maybe we want to try to get something at Bush or one of the lakes around here. So have a good evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks as always.
Yep, you guys take care.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.